Make sure you subscribe to our channel by clicking on the red subscribe button. And to never miss another lecture from Miracle, hit the bell icon to get regular updates on English literature.
Hello and welcome to Miracle English Language and Literature Institute. I'm Professor Abha Sharma, and as you all know that I'm discussing the answers of the recently held UGC-NET JRF exam November 2017. I've already done 2 parts and this is the 3rd one, and I hope you would give your sincere feedback on my work. Please like and comment. Also subscribe the channel. Question number 21. Which of the following landscapes of England figures prominently in the poetry of Ted Hughes? And the correct answer is Yorkshire Moors. He even wrote a poem called Moors, which was taken from the series of poems based on the set of Yorkshire photographs given by Fay Godwin to him, who was also a photographer and his contemporary. Now, Sylvia Plath also called him the brilliant, rugged Yorkshire poet. She had fallen in love with him before she met him after reading his poems. She described him as big, athletic, with a voice that outrose Dylan Thomas. Now, Ted Hughes immortalized Calder Valley of Yorkshire as Hardy did of Wessex. He was the poet laureate in between 1984 until his death, that is 1998, and he is in the list of the 50 greatest British writers since 1945, and he takes the 4th position in this list. He was married to the American poet Sylvia Plath in 1956, but then she committed suicide in 1963 at the age of 30, and some feminists, they accuse him and blame him for her death. He wrote about animal imagery. He described life taking the animals as the metaphor, the hawk in the rain, view of a pig, or hawk roosting. He was obsessed with the beauty and the innocence and also the violence of this natural world. Therefore, he brought them all in his poetry. So, correct answer is, of course, Yorkshire Moors. Question number 22. The title of M.C. Chagla's autobiography is. Now, I think many of you must have not even heard of the name M.C. Chagla, but then the correct answer is Roses in December. Chagla was a respected liberal lawyer. His full name was Mehommedali Khurram Chagla. He was a jurist, a Chief Justice of Bombay High Court, and a multifaceted personality like judge, politician, ambassador, minister, writer, journalist, diplomat, governor, etc., etc. So it is very difficult to handle so many roles in real life, but then he did it, sticking to his own principles and of course growing in the society. So this book gives you the detail about hundreds of personalities whom he must have met in every stage of life, their association and all. So he believed in that law is a great discipline for the mind. It teaches you how to think clearly, precisely, accurately. Now, he was a diplomat for US, Cuba, Mexico, and High Commissioner of UK, and participated in various delegations, and he even criticized the US for supplying arms to Pakistan. So we can say that Roses in December is an autobiography of a versatile statesman. Question number 23. Which among the following gave the expression, a leopard can't change its spots, to English language? And the correct answer is the King James Bible. Actually, it is an idiom which says that you cannot change the basic nature of a person no matter how hard you try, or even he cannot change his basic nature. This idiom comes from the Old Testament, the Hebrew prophet Jeremiah tries to persuade an evil shepherdess. He's trying to make her good, but then after much efforts he realizes that it is just next to impossible to convince her and make her good. Then he says that, can the Ethiopian change his skin or the leopard his spots? Now it is also like you can't teach an old dog new tricks, or as Popeye, the famous cartoon series says, that I am what I am. In 1611, during the period of King James, all the older versions of Bibles in different languages, the stories of Old Testaments, they were incorporated and researched by the scholars and professors of different universities, and one Bible was written taking help of all the Bibles, and this Bible was known as the King James Bible, and this was written in New English, which incorporated this idiom, a leopard can't change its spots.
I am what I am, and that's all what I am. I fly like a sailor.
Question number 24. Which of the following is not true about Albert Camus' novel The Plague? The same Albert Camus who wrote the essay Myth of Sisyphus and gave the idea of absurd theatre and existentialism. So first of all, let us discuss the story and then we will see that which one of the choice is not correct. The novel The Plague was published in 1947 when India got its freedom. It was published in French, and the story is about plague sweeping the French Algerian city of Oran. So it is like a semi-documentary type. Because Camus worked in the newspaper agency for several years, so he was a kind of a journalist. Therefore, he has cultivated this style to narrate the sequences. And you know what? This documented style projects more truthfulness than any other story. So the chapter begins with Dr. Ruix discovering a dead rat, and then several other rats are also found dead, and then there is one Mr. Mitchell who dies because of some strange fever. So both the things are projected right in the beginning, that the dead rat is seen and the first victim dies because of some fever. So that means some kind of fever has enwrapped the city and it increases day by day. So the statement which says that Dr. Ruix called it a bubonic plague is right, because he had discussions with other doctors and they all agreed that this mysterious fever was like plague. Then, of course, M. Mitchell was the first victim of the plague. This one is also right. And there's another character, Taro, who comes from nowhere. Nobody knows because he's a mysterious character. He's a young man and he is quite impressed by Dr. Ruix, and they discuss many of their life events, and it seems that he is quite spiritual, and he learns in the city that people are indifferent to each other. There are people who have no aim in life, and even if they are enwrapped or say caught by this plague, and even if they die, they have no family which will cry after them and all. So the fourth sequence also seems to be correct. And then there is another character, Penelux, who's a father, who is the one who gives the sermon. So in his first sermon he says that plague is because God is trying to punish the sinners. But then when he notices a young innocent boy dying, he completely changes his point of view, and in his second sermon he gives the sermon in contrast to his first one. So Camus has conceived this universe in terms of paradoxes and contrast. Man lives to die. Man is just living in a hope of afterlife, but nobody has given any proof to that. So his idea of living is very meaningful, yet nobody knows what that meaning is. So there is both positive and negative in contrast. So according to me, all the four choices are correct. Maybe the fourth one is not exactly the same, but it is an allegory and it gives you the idea of living. It is absurd. It questions the existentialism. That's why, of course, play can symbolize human indifference also.